All right, so good day, everyone. Welcome to second edition where we'll be looking into a new topic, right? So, for our last class, we were able to look into variables, what variables are, data types, operations, type creation, conditionals, loops, functions, and scope. And I believe you were able to comprehend and understand what these concepts were and how they are important to our journey in JavaScript. Okay, so today we'll be looking into a new amazing um, concept, which is arrays and objects, right? So if you know, if variables are like individual, you can see variables from last class. You were told that variables are like individual boxes that hold one values, right? They hold one value. Right now, arrays and objects. What are these? Like, what are arrays? What are objects? So, arrays and objects, they are like a shelf. Like, if you know, in your room, you have a cupboard that you keep things inside. You don't just keep one thing, you keep different things inside, right? So, you can see arrays and objects like shelves that helps us organize and store many values together. So, that's just what they are. So at the end of today, you know what arrays are, how to create an array, how to not just creating it, but how do you access the items that are inside the arrays, and also how do you manipulate it, how do you transform it, how do you work with it as a professional JavaScript developer, right? So at the end of today, you know how to do that. Okay, so this is what we'll be covering today. We'll be starting with arrays, what they are, how they create them, and how do you access their contents. Then we're going to move into the core array methods, right? The core array methods. These are methods that are they are actually built-in tools that let you add, that let you remove, rearrange, and sort items together. After that, we would cover iteration. I know in the last class you were taught about four different loops: the for loop, the while loops, the while loop, and the like. So we'll cover iteration, the most powerful patterns for looping through arrays using map, filter, reduce, and more. Then we will shift gears to objects, which stores data as key value pairs. Store data as key value pairs. Then we'll look at two modern JavaScript features. That's very important. That is the destructuring and the spread operator. The destructuring and the spread operator. And then we are going to wrap it up with JSON, JavaScript Object Notation. That's the meaning, JSON, right? Which is a format used to send data between your app and a server. Okay, so that's the sixth topic we'll be considering today. All right, okay, great. So an array in JavaScript is an ordered list of values that is wrapped in square brackets. It's an ordered list of value, right? That is wrapped in square bracket. You know, we have different kind of brackets. We have the normal, sorry, we have the normal curve brackets, we have the square brackets, we have the coily brace, right? So whenever you see this, right, whenever you see this is telling you that this is actually an array, right? So it contains ordered list of values that is wrapped in a square bracket. Yeah, so here we have a simple array called numbers containing 1, 2, 3. Okay, the most important thing to remember about arrays is that indexing starts at 0. You know, the normal way you count your array, Like let's say you have 5 items stacked. Okay, I think what I will do is I will open, just use the whiteboard to explain what I'm trying to make you understand. So just give me a moment. All right, it's loading. Okay, great. So the normal way of counting, let's say you see a list of items. Maybe this is an orange. So how many orange are here? One, two, three, four, five. So we have 5 oranges, and the normal way of counting is you count this way: one, two, three, four, five. So this is the normal way of counting items. But then when counting items in arrays, they are different, right? You don't start counting from one. In arrays, the count starts from zero. Sorry, let me undo this so that we don't get it that bad. The count starts from zero, one, two, three, and four. This is how we count when we're talking about arrays. Okay, so just take note of that. So you start from zero, you don't start from one. All right. So the first item is at zero. Okay. Second is at index one, and so on. The third one, which is three, is at index two. So and even we had the fourth one, which is four. It's going to be at index three. So take note of that. So this strips up beginners more than almost anything else, right? So it's a bit confusing, but it's not at the same time. It's not confusing. So you just have to pay attention. Because I remember then when I started learning about arrays, I always get confused, especially because I keep counting. Always count my arrays with one, two, three instead of starting with zero, starting from zero. So just have to take note of that. That for arrays, your count starts from zero and not one. Then to access a specific item, you write the array name followed by the index in square brackets. So numbers, which is the array name, right? The array name is numbers. Then if I want to access one, I call in the array's name, then the position of one, which is zero. Then once you console log this, it's going to give me one. That's how it works. Then if I want to get the position of, let's say I want to get the value of two, I call the array name numbers, then the position of two, which is one. It is not two, it is one, because when dealing with arrays, your count starts from zero and not one, right? Great. Same thing applies to three. It is going to be numbers, square bracket, two. Okay, so we can actually go into code to see how this works before we proceed. So I am going to create a file, call it index.js. I'm going to call this index.js. So from that, I have my, I can say let numbers, right? Let numbers equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is numbers, arrays containing numbers from 1 to 10. And you would ask you, I want you to print, or I want you to print out index. I want you to find the index of 6. What is the index of 6? The index of 6 is what? You know the usual pattern when dealing with arrays, you start from 0. It's going to be 1. It's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is index 5. So if you are going to print arrays numbers of index 5, it's going to give you 6. So let's see that out. So if I want to get the index of 6, how do I write that? It's simply numbers square bracket index of 5. What would this give me? What would this give me? So let's see. When dealing with JavaScript and you want to really test things out, you use your console log. I'm sure by now you know what is console log, but if you are confused what it is, just let me know and I would explain that to you. So console.log, I want to print out the value of this. I want to print out the value of this. I think my screen is a bit okay. I hope it's better. Right. So I'm going to print out this. By printing this out, what would my answer be? What is going to be my answer? All right, let's run this. It's 6. It's actually 6, meaning the value at index 5 is 6, which is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is the 6. So what is the value at index 8? What is the value at index 8? It is going to be what? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which is 9. Let's run it and see if it's going to give us 9. Great. So we have 9. What is the value for the index? What is the value at index 3? What is the value at index 3? Can you take a guess, or do you know what that is? All right, I guess you know what that is. So the value at index 3 will be what? Let's see. 0, 1, 2, 3. The answer is 4. So if I should print this out, I should get 4. Hope that is clear. You can try that out at your end and make sure everything is working well. All right, so let's proceed. Then, if I want to get the length of this array, everything, every container has a length, right? What do I mean by the length? What do I mean by length? So this is a container. Let's assume this is a container, right? This is a container. Let's say container. This container or this cup, yeah, has this item, and you will be asked to find like how many items does this cup contain, right? It's how many items, which is what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it means this cup contains what? 5 items, right? 5 items. So it works the same way when dealing with arrays, right? You have these arrays numbers equal to a list of numbers, and you'll be asked to find the length of these array numbers. What is the length of this arrays number? It's like telling you, it's the same way of telling you how many items are in this numbers array. We have 3, right? 1, 2, 3. How do you write that in code? How do you write that in JavaScript? That's what they're telling you. Because in words, right? Numbers, how many numbers are there in this numbers array is 3. You can easily see that is 3, but what is the syntax to writing that so that the code can understand, right? Your program can understand what you're writing. So how do you write that in code? It's simply saying numbers.length. Numbers.length. So numbers.length will give you the total length of this array. So let's see that out. So I can say go ahead to say the length of this. I can create a variable. Let me do this so that you don't get confused. I can create a variable called um, length of numbers equal to numbers dot length. Length of numbers equals to numbers dot length. So what this does is that this will give us the total length of this array, and we want to print it out so that we see what. So before I print it out, what do you think the answer would be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 8, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10 items. So if I should run this, see from here, it's actually 10 items. So numbers.length gives you the length of the whole array. So take note of that, because this is more like a popular interview question, right? So very basic question. You might go for an interview and they will ask you the very basic thing. I've attended some kind of interviews where someone was asked in JavaScript, how do you get the length of an array? Like, what's the JavaScript syntax for that? And the person didn't know. I mean, it's very bad. So things basic as this, you really need to know their syntax, right? And get used to it. It comes with practice. It comes with practice. So take note of that. All right. I hope you are following. Great. So arrays stores ordered index collections of values. Index always starts at 0, which is zero-based indexing. Use numbers index to access any element, which is what we did here. Then to get the length or the total count of elements, you call in the numbers dot length, right? Numbers dot length. So take note of that. Let's go to next slide. So now we'll be looking into the 4 essential methods that JavaScript gives us for adding, removing items from an array. So JavaScript gives us or provides us with 4 amazing methods that we're going to use. We're going to see how it works. So let's start with the push, right? Push. When you hear push in JavaScript, what comes to your mind, right? So push means adding an item to the end of the array. That's what push means, adding an item to the end of the array. So if I go to my whiteboard, to explain what I mean. So this is an item. Let's say this is a container. This is a container. So inside this container, I have, let's say these are space. These are spaces. These are spaces. So currently at this time, I had what? I had this. I had 3 items in this container. These are empty space. I have 3 items. So push means when you say push this into this container, it's telling you push this or take this, add this to the end of the last one. So the beginning of the last one will be this one. So add it to this place. That's what it means. That's the meaning of push. Add an item to the end of the array. So if they say push another one again, push another one. So this one is saying add this item again to the end, not here, because there's an empty space here. Add it to the end of the last one, which is this next one. That's what push means. So take note of that. Push means adding an item to the end of the array. Okay, great. Okay, let's go into code to see that how that works. Okay, so this is the numbers. Let's say these are the numbers I have. Yeah, this is the numbers array, so we will still make use of this. So Inside these numbers, I want to add 11 to this arrays that has 10 numbers. I want to add another number to these numbers. So the syntax for doing that is by calling the arrays name dot, right, arrays name dot what, push, arrays name dot push, which is numbers dot push. It doesn't end there. You need to push. What number do you want to push? You can't just say numbers dot push, because you'll be like, what am I pushing? I cannot just call it numbers dot push. I need to push something. That is where your bracket comes in, where you're going to include the item you want to push. So since I want to push 11, I just indicate it here. That's all. I indicate it here. And if I find, before now, the current length of this numbers is 10. But after this line was executed, 11 was added to this, which became 11 items. Let's confirm that. We are going to also log this to see if it's going to give us 11. So if I run this, what do I get? I get 11 because the 11 has been added to this. If I now call in the numbers dot push again, push, and I add 12, right? What do you think it will be? It's going to be 10. The total length of this array is going to be 10, 11, 12. So let's see. Great, 12. So that's how it's worked. It's as simple as that. Okay. All right, great. So that's it with push. The next one is pop. The next one is pop. Pop, 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 pop. What does pop does? No, the reason why I love this programming is like it uses um the English term, the real meaning of a word or a keyword or a function name will tell you what it's actually going to do, right? So we can just actually go to the dictionary to just see what pop is, so that you just get the meaning of pop. Is a versatile item meaning a sharp explosive sound, subject, a sudden movement, or a popular to hear as a verb. It means to make this sound appear suddenly, to pop up, place something quickly, or place something quickly. And I was trying to look for. I'll pop into the store quickly. She popped her head around the. Not. I'm looking for a word. Loud pop echoed. Okay, I'm not getting what that means. Let's proceed anyways. Let's proceed. So, because in my head, because the first time I came across pop, what came to my mind is something like a bubble, like coming out, right? Coming out of something. Like you've seen cup, you drop a solid substance inside a cup of water. What happens? You see a bubble that is coming out, right? So when you hear pop, that comes to my mind. So in JavaScript, pop is a function, built-in function in the arrays. So what it means is to remove an item, remove the last item that is in the array. Remove the last item that is in the array. That's the meaning of pop. Remove the last item that is in the array, which is at the end, right? So these two are fast and efficient, right? The push and the pop, they are very fast and efficient. You can think of it like a stick of plates, right? So I always make use of my whiteboard, which is makes it easier for people to understand. Okay, we can still use this. We can still use this. So I have 4 items. So since I added this one here, it became 5. So pop means when you call pop, pop is going to take this one out. If you call pop again, it's going to take this one out. That's the meaning of that, right? So it's like a stack of plates. Let's say this is your plate, right? Um, I hope I will draw this way. This is your plate. You know your normal plate in the kitchen now that is stacked on top each other, right? Stacked on top each other. This is your plate. Then pop means take. This is the first one. This is the last one. Pop is you taking the last one out. That's pop. So it's like the stack of your plate. Okay. Hope that is not confusing. So let's go to code to see how that works. So currently I have 12 numbers here, which after running the code, it was 12. But what happens if I call in the numbers dot pop? What happens if I call in numbers dot pop? What do you think will happen? It's going to remove the last item, which is 11, right? It's going to remove the last item, which is 11. And if I run this, I'm going to get 11 items. As simple as that. Or maybe what I would do is um, I should print the numbers instead of just printing the length. Let me just print the numbers. Okay, let's do this console.log. Yeah, I can do this. Great. So once I do this, you see I have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, but there is no 12 because it has been popped out. Right? It has been popped out. If I call in this pop again, what do you think will happen? It's going to remove 11 from the list. Let's see. So if I run this, what happens? Let's run this. What do you think will happen? It has removed 11 and now we have 10. If I call in the pop again, it's going to remove 10. So if I run this now, what do I have? I have 9. Oh, I hope you understand the flow. So you keep on calling the pop, it removes the last item from the array list. Okay, great. That's it with push, that's it with pop. Now shift, right? Shift is shift is not like the opposite of push, right? So shift, what shift does is that it removes the first item from the start of the array. It removes the first item. Take note of this. Oh. It removes the first item from the start of the array. Just understand the English. So what that means is, let me come here to undo so that, all right. Shift means it removes the first item from the start of the array. This is the first item from the start of the array. Whenever you call shift, what happens? It removes this from the array. That's what it does. You call shift again, it removes this. What pop does? Pop removes the last. Shift does what? It removes the first. I hope you get that. Okay, so let's see how that works in code. So this is pop. After calling this three pop, I'm left with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now if I call in the numbers dot shift, what do you think will happen? It's going to remove 1 and you'll be left with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's see. Like I said, as I'm doing this, please code along. Thank you. So once I do this, see, 1 is gone. You are left with what? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. If I call the shift again, 2 will go off. And you'll be left with 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's try that. You see? Hope that makes sense. Great. So that's it with shift. Now, on shift, add a new item to the start. On shift, adds a new item to the start. It's very, very easy. Most of this concept is very easy. So just try and pay attention. On shift adds an item to the start of the array. Push adds item at the end of the array, while on shift adds the item at the start, right, to the start of the array. So these are slightly slower because every other element has to be re-indexed, right? This is very slow because why I said pop, right? Pop and pop is very fast when it comes to performance because pop means you're not changing the order. So let me explain what I mean by that, the pop and the push. Let me explain what I mean by pop, the pop and the push, why it's their performance is very fast. So you have three items, right? I'll still use this. These are three items. When you push something, you are not changing the order. This is at index 0, this is at index 1, and this is at index 2. This is at index 2 rather. So when you push, you are not changing the order of this. You are easily adding to this. You get? You're easily adding to that. Now, when you pop, which is this, when you pop, you are removing from the last. You are not changing the order of this. You are easily removing without changing the order of this one, right? But now, shift means removing the first item from the start of the array. Shift means removing this. So when you remove this, what happens? Here will be empty. So it's going to be like this. Okay, let's do this. So removing the first item will leave here empty, while here will have something. But when you try to query or when you try to make use or manipulate this array, it's going to be invalid, not going to work because this place cannot be null. Here has to be filled with something, right? Here have to be filled with something. So what happens is that when you perform, two things happens when you perform a shift method, a shift process. Two things happen is that first thing is that it removes the first item from the list. Second thing is that it is going to reposition this one here. It will reposition this one here, and here will be empty. So two processes are happening. That is why it's making the performance to be more expensive, right? Because what is happening here is we call that re-indexing. Yeah, you are trying to re-index the element. That's what is happening because you performed a shift. Now, on shift is doing what? It's adding new item to the start. So what on shift does is currently we have three items here. Shift is removing, right? On shift is adding item again, adding a new item before the start, at the start of the array, which is here, meaning it's going to add this item here, remove this one, take it to this next one, add it here, remove this one, take it to this place, add it here, remove this one, take it to this place, add it here. So re-indexing is happening here. That's why I said shift and unshift, they are very expensive because it requires two processes, which is very longer, right? While for pop and push, it's fast. It happens very, very fast. So take note of that. So that's it with arrays, the arrays method, the popular arrays method, the push, pop, shift, and unshift. I hope you know how to differentiate between them, or if you are given a problem to solve, you should be able to know what particular method. Maybe you're asked to write a program that, let's say we have orange, purple, mango. Write a program that will remove mango from the list. That is going to remove the last item from the list. So what comes to your mind is what? Pop. Because the meaning of pop is what? Removing from the end, right? So in case you're asked to write a program that would add pepper to the beginning of the container or to the beginning of the list. So what comes to your mind is what? Unshift method, right? So be aware of this because you make use of them in problem solving, right? Okay. If you have any question, please feel free to drop that. Wait, so let's go to the next one. So this is one that constantly confuse developers, even experienced ones. I struggled with this then, okay? But the key distinction is very simple, right? It's very simple, so just pay attention. A slice and splice. So slice is safe, splice is destructive. I'll explain, right? We'll see how that works. I come again. Slice is safe, but splice is very destructive. Very, very, very destructive. Wait, calm down. Good. Slice is non-destructive. I'm trying to rephrase or refine the English. Slice is non-destructive. It returns a new array. But splice is very destructive because it mutates the original one. Great. Now, slice takes two arguments, right? It takes two arguments. It takes a start and the end index. Slice takes two arguments. It takes the start and it takes the end index and returns a brand new array with those elements and returns the array, a brand new array with this element. Okay? All right. So it does not touch the original one, doesn't touch the original array. So numbers, so if you have numbers 1, 3, it gives you elements at index 1 and elements at index 2. But numbers itself is unchanged. The numbers itself is unchanged. Let's see that out. Let's do something with that so that you understand what I'm talking about. Okay, so I think I can comment this out so that you don't get confused. So slice. All right, so for slice, I'm still making use of number. So if I have numbers, let's say let num equal to numbers dot slice, numbers dot slice, numbers dot slice, and I want it to be, and I want to take the start and the end index. So the start index is 1 and the end index is 3. What does that mean? Is it that it's going to come here, it's going to pick 1, it's going to pick 2, and it's going to pick 3 because it's within the range? How does it work, right? How does it work? Or is it going to pick 1? Is it going to pick 2? Right? If I run this now, let's run this out first. Okay, let's run this. So log this. Okay, so log this, what do I get? Always remember to put your semicolon. So if I should run this, I will get 2 and 3. I'm going to get 2 and 3. So meaning this is position 0, this is position 1, and this is position 2, which is 2 and 3. So what am I saying? Let's go to the whiteboard, because this is always very confusing. Let's go to the whiteboard so you understand what I'm explaining. Okay, this is the whiteboard. Okay, right, this is the whiteboard. All right, so this, I have these spaces, I have the spaces here, all these are spaces here. Then name 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If I call in my slice, then indicates the start and what the end. Let's say I have 3 slice examples, and this one is what the start is 2, index 2, and the end is what, index 4. What does that mean? Then maybe the last one, let's use the last example, 3, 6. What does that mean? So when you have a slice method, right, let's say you have a slice method that have the index 1, the start index of 1 and the end index of 3. What does that mean? It means it's going to go to the arrays, right? It's not, it's, this is this counting this index now, it's counting these arrays is 0, 1, 2, remember, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So index 1, right? Index 1 is saying at index 1, what is the value at index 1 is what? 2 and 3, right? 2 and 3. So it's saying the start position is 1, right? And the end position is 3. So between 1 and index 3, what are those values between 1 and index 3? It is what? 2, 3. Not 4, because 4 is exactly at index 3, and the rule states only return those values or those arrays, a new array that is within the what? The index, the start index and the end index. So the start index we have is at index 1, right? Then at index 2, which is 2 and 3, not 2, 3, 4. Take note of that. So that's why the answer is what? A new array. This returns a new array of what? 2 and 3. Okay, and that is what we confirmed here when we console log, right? 2 and 3, which is this 0, 1, 2, 2 and 3. Now what about this? Is the second example now, 2 and 4. What happens is that it's going to go to the first index, which is 2, which is what? Going to be what? So it's going to return a new array of what? Index 2 we have what? It's index 2 we have what? 3. Index 3 we have what? 4. So this is what is going to return 4. It will not print, it's not going to include the one at index 4, because it is within, it is from the first and the one that is less than the last index that was stated here, not the one at. That's why we are taking the second and the third, 3, 4. So if we were to print it out now, what will it be? Where is that? 2, 4. So 2, okay, 2, 4. So printing 2, 4 will give us what? 3 and 4, which is what we have here. So index 3 and 6, what would that be? So let's see. So index 3 is what? 4, 5, 6. So we have 3 values. So this is going to return what? This is going to return what? A new array of what? Index of value 4, 5, 6. Simple as that. 4, 5, 6. I hope that is clear. 4, 5, 6. So if I come to my code and tweak or do that, first index 3, second index 6, I print it out, I'll get 4, 5, 6, which is what I have here. I hope we are good. So it's returning a new array without affecting the original array, without affecting the original, or it's returning a new one. Okay, so that's it with slice. It extracts elements without modifying the original array. That is why I said it is not destructive, it is non-destructive, because it returns the new array. Because when we see a scenario whereby it's actually a function, when we are calling a function and it is affecting or modifying the original array, then there is a problem with that. That's where that function is destructive. That is where the function is destructive. But slice is not destructive, because when we perform slice, right, it returns a new array without affecting the old array, right? The old array is this one. This is the old array. The new one is the one that is being returned, which is what we see here. Which is what we see here, right? This is the one we see here. How do you confirm that? Fine, let's confirm that now so that we know what we're talking about. So this norm is the new one. Maybe I can just go ahead to call it a new, and just call it what happened, I didn't say you should open this. C sharp to rename. Okay, all right. It's F2. Is it F2? No, it's not okay. Let me use this one. Okay, so new array, new array, right? So this is the new array. This is the new array, which after slicing it, I get 4, 5, 6. Now let's confirm that it did not touch or it did not modify the old array, which is what? The numbers. So if I should console log numbers, which is this one, let me go and comment this. I'll get what? 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You see, it has not modified this, it has returned a new one. So that's it with slice. Okay, that's it with slice. Great. Now splice is different. Okay, splice is different. So what the splice does is that it modifies the original array directly. It modifies the original array directly. So you can use it to remove items, insert items, or both, right? I'll come again. It modifies the original array. That's why I say it's destructive, because our plan is not to really modify it. Like, don't tamper it, just return a new one without touching the existing one, which is expensive. Okay, so there are reasons for why you'd want to use splice. So one of the reasons for using a splice is maybe you want to remove an item from the original array, okay? Or maybe you want to insert an item, or you want to do both. That is where you make use of splice, because there are programming problems you'll be asked to solve, and it will require you to decide or make decision of which to go for, of which to apply. Is it to use pop? Is it to use push, shift, unshift, or slice or splice? Like our goal is provide you with the tools, provide you with the foundation, the concept, the different spices you will need, so that when you come across a problem, you would, based on your foundation, you would know how to solve that problem. Okay? Yeah. So that's what we're trying to do. So splice is absolutely its opposite of slice. Okay? So just take note of that. So let's see how that works. So numbers of splice 1 comma 1, right? Means, what this means is, go to the index 1, pay attention, go to index 1 and remove one element. Go to index 1 and remove one element. That is what it means. Go to index 1 and remove one element. Okay? I'll give you 10 seconds to assimilate that. Great. So go to index 1 and remove that element. So let's see how that works. Great. So I have this. This is what I have, the numbers, which is this. So I can say, let me do something. Console log value number arrays before split, before splice was performed, before was performed, which gives us this. Okay, log. So I can just okay, then do this to demarcate it. Now, right, console.log when splice was performed, what happened. So let's do that. When splice was performed, what happened. So we are going to call in the arrays numbers.splice. What are we want to remove an item? So we have the start number, which is, go to this index, right? Go to the index 1 and remove one item. Go to index 1 and remove one item. That's what it means. So after performing this, what happens is that it goes to index 1, which is 2, and removes it. So if I print out the final value for the final arrays for numbers, what do we have? Console.log the final numbers arrays is going to be what? It's going to be numbers. So let's see what would this give. So if I should print this out, okay, I should print this out. Maybe what I would do is to take this one to this top here. I always enjoy this thing to be at the top. Align panel, justify. Okay, yeah, I can do this. panel position at the top. No, I'm coming. Sorry, align panel right. Right, great. So let's use this so that you see what I'm explaining. So once I run this, let's see what happens. So this is it, right? Numbers arrays before splice was performed. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now when splice was performed, what happens is that here's what happens. It went to the index 0, which was 2. It went to index 1, which was 2, and removed what? And removed 2. That is why after removing the 2, the final array was what? 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. There is no 2. So that's the meaning of splice, having the two arguments 1, comma 1, meaning go into index 1 and remove one item, right? What if it was 2? What does that mean? What if you were what if it was this, right? If I run that, what does that mean? It means go into index 1 and remove 2 items, 2 and 3. That is why we have 4. 2 and 3 were removed and we have 4, 5, 6. Same way applies to go into index or go into index 2 and remove 4 items. What do you think what will be the final answer? You can pause the video and tell me what that is. If you fail, you have to pay me a fine or I fine you. So what that means is go into the second index and remove 4 items. So if I run this, you see this now. It goes into the second index, which is 0, 1, 2, which is 3, and remove 4 items, meaning you're going to remove 3, 4, 5, 6. What will we left with? 8, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2 is what we have here. So it's as simple as ABC. So it's not necessarily going to be numbers. It could be items like a list of fruits. Maybe you have mango, pawpaw, pineapple, and you are asked to remove pawpaw, which is the center. So how do you remove pawpaw? Right? You go into the index of pawpaw and you remove just pawpaw. That's 1, 1. Okay, great. Oh yeah, now let's try that. Okay, we can do something. Let's use string. Yeah, these are numbers. Let's use strings for our example so that you see how that plays out. I can create another file. All right. index2.js. Let me create another file. So let's say I have my fruits equal to orange, pineapple, mango, right? Pear. Yeah, I have this for item and write a program that removes the second. Right. Write a program that removes the second item in an array. Right. Using pop does not solve that. Using push does not solve that because pop means removing the last item. Push means adding the item to the array. Shift means adding an item to the start of the array. Unshift means removing the item, removing the first item from the list. So this 4 doesn't solve that. So what comes to your mind? Even the slice doesn't actually remove because it does not modify the original arrays. It returns a new one. Okay, it returns a new one, but splice modifies it. So for splice, you are asked to remove the second item. So the final stuff we'll be calling the fruit dot splice, then go into index 1, which is 1, and remove one item. So after doing that, what will be the final um, results? So if I run this, I should have orange, mango, pear. Pineapple has been removed. So that's how it works. Okay, that's how it works. Great. Hope no confusion. I hope so. So let's go into the next concept, which is so yeah. Remember, this is very important. Slice, no change. Splice, change. Slice does not change the original array. Splice changes and modifies it. Okay. Now for this one, numbers dot splice 1 comma 0. So this is saying insert number 99 at index 1. Insert this number at index 1. Let's see that. Let's see how that works. So I have my okay, let's use this first. Okay, let me comment this out. So I have numbers dot splice. So I have in at index 1, what should happen? Insert this 99. So at the end, what am I going to see? I'm going to see this is 0, this is 1, so I should see 199, right? So let's see. If I run this, I'm going to get 199, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it doesn't really remove 2, it only adds the number before 2, which is 99. So what happened if we had used 1, 0, or we had used 1, 1? What would that mean? So what that means is saying going to index 1, right? Add the number and remove the number that was there. Replace it like the number that was there in that 99 was 2. So saying 1 1 comma 0 means go to in that index, right? Replace it with 99 and remove that number that was there, which is what 2. But what if I had used 2? It's not going to remove 2, it's going to remove 3. So let's see. All this comes with practice, okay? So 199 is going to remove 2 numbers, 2, 3, then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So going to index 1, right? Going to index 1, one 0 99 means going to index 1, do not remove any number. That is why it's 0. Do not remove any number. They just add 99 before the number. Okay? Then column 1 means go into index 1, remove that number at index 1 and replace it with 99. So if I have 3 here, it means go into index 1, remove 3 numbers, then include 99. I hope that is clear. All right. Okay, so let's go into iteration methods. Now we get to the really powerful stuff. It's a very powerful stuff. These 4 methods here, lets you work with every element in an array elegantly without writing a for loop every time. In our last class, you were taught about for loop, how rigorous it is. I think for loops takes over 2, 3, 4 lines of code, right? You can't be for every problem. You can't be every time you write a for loop. There are one line of code that replaces that for loop structure. Okay, that's what we want to look at now. Okay, so the first one is map. This is another concept that confuses beginners, so try and pay attention. Okay, so map transforms every element, right? Map transforms every element and returns a brand new array of the same length. It transforms every element and returns a brand new array of the same length. Okay? Meaning, if we had the initial numbers, the numbers was the old arrays. So it doesn't tamper, it doesn't touch or modify the original array. It just transforms the old array, then returns a brand new array of the latest transformation that was done. Okay, so an example is this. Right, let's do this. Okay, so I have this. Hold on, let me confirm my stuff is still recording before we hear stories that touch. Okay, so this is a container, right? This container has what? How many space? Container has how many space? Transformation has to do with changing the flow, changing the look of how it was before, like changing it, giving you a new structure, design, layout, and all that meaning of transformation. But it's going to create a new identity instead of rubbishing or tampering with the existing one. So, assuming I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 numbers here, and I want to perform. The goal is to multiply all the numbers by 2. Multiply this by 2, 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 multiply this by 2. That is transformation for you. Or add 3 to all the numbers in the arrays, meaning you add 3 here, 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 you add 3 here. A way you would have done that is what? Creating a loop. Write a for loop that we're going to do what? It's going to loop into this. It's going to loop into these ones and add the number. Maybe we can actually try that out. Let's try that out first. Let's try that out. Okay. Let's create a file and call it map.js. Yeah, map.js. Great. So map.js. So let's say I have these numbers equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now the goal is to do what? Add 3 to all the numbers in the numbers arrays, meaning it loops here, you add 3, you come here, you add 3, you come here, you add 3, come here, you add 3, come here, add 3, come here, you add 3. So how do you do that? I'll give you 20 seconds. Let's see what you can come up with. All right. So great. So a way to do that is simple, right? So how you would have thought of doing it, it's going to be more like saying um, create your for loop. I hope you still remember how to create your for loop, right? First one is initializing the index, right? Let's I equal to 0, then I less than the range, right? Less than numbers dot length, okay? Then the increment, because we want to be iterating, incrementing, so that's why we have the I plus plus. So now for each of the number I want to be adding 3. So first off, what I will do is I'll call the variable name, right? I'm going to call the numbers arrays. Then at index I, what should happen at index I, which is this current at index I, what should happen? Add 1, okay, add 3 to this index. So it's like saying numbers I plus 3. That's what it means. Numbers I plus 3. So what is this is saying? That's why I always say, if you don't understand for loop, like the loop, if you don't understand what was taught in the previous class, it will affect your next class, right? It's going to affect your next class. So I don't expect you to be confused with what I just did, because I believe in our previous class we were able to understand how this for loop works, how you use it to manipulate things and all. But if you still do not understand, you can reach out to me, okay? So numbers I, meaning it's going to loop, it's going to start from index 0. At index 0, what should happen? Add 3 to index 0. So when you add 3, right, it's going to be, the new one is going to be 4, right? It loops again, it increments it to 1. At index 1, add 3, which is this one. So 3 plus 2 will be 5. It keeps incrementing. Add 3 to 3 is what? 6. Add 3 to 4 is 7. Add 3 to 5 is 8. Add 3 to 6 is 9. Okay, so this is what is happening. But you know what we are doing now is we are now modifying the original arrays, which is against map concepts, which is against the concept of mapping or map, the map function. It's against that, because map, what map does is it returns a new array without, it transforms the old array in a new array variable without modifying the existing or old array. I hope I'm not confusing you. Okay. All right. So once this is done, let's console log it to see we are on track. Console log, what will be with a new numbers array. So if I run this, I'm going to get this 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It has transformed it, the original array, which is against the concept of map. Because what map says, it doesn't modify the existing or old array. It's going to create a new one. And it's going to create a new one like this. So it creates a new one. Let's new numbers equal to empty array. Great, now it's becoming interesting, right? Now you might be thinking, how are we going to add the transformed numbers into this new array? How are we going to do that? That is where the concept of push comes in. I hope you're getting it now, because concept of push means add number into the array, into the end of the array. So what push is going to do is that it's going to go into this array. First of all, it's going to add the number here, then push it inside here. So let's write that out so you get what I mean. So now it's going to be new numbers dot push. New numbers dot push. What are you pushing into this new array? What are you pushing there? You are pushing the addition of 3 plus the old array index. So what do I mean? You are pushing the addition of numbers at index I, right, plus 3. That's what you're doing. As simple as that. Meaning, push does what? It's going to push in what? At index 0 is what? 1 plus 3, which is 4. So 1 plus 3 is 4. The 4 will enter this array and it's going to become what? 4. It iterates again, adds the next one 5. It iterates again, adds the next one 6. Does that 8, 9. So it is not modifying the old, or rather it creates a new one and adds those transformation to the new one. I hope you're following. Like I said, if you are still struggling with for loop, if you are still struggling with for loop, I can always explain it over and over. You can create another class, explain it again, or you just go back to watch to the previous video to watch it and you get it. Okay. All right. So if I console log the numbers and I console log the new numbers, which is new numbers, let's see what that's going to be. Maybe I can say this is the old number arrays. Okay. All right. I can say it's the new arrays. All right. Okay. So I can do this, and if I run this, what happens when I run this? So I get, this is the old number arrays 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It doesn't touch this, but rather it creates the new one and transform data into that new one without modifying the old one. I hope that is clear. Great. So that's it with for loop. But now, what we want to look into is the iteration methods that makes life easier. So instead of having these lines of code, when you want to write a for loop, you have like 1, 2, 3. You create your for loop, you add all this stuff. All these things can be done in just one line of code, which is what we see here, which is what we see here. Okay, so let's try that out. Let's try that out. So numbers.map, excuse me. Excuse. Right. So instead of doing this, I can I can do this. Okay. Instead of doing this for loop, right? Instead of doing this for loop, I can do this. I can call in um, numbers. I can create a variable called let. Maybe I'll just comment that out. Let new number still, right, equal to numbers dot what map, numbers dot map, open bracket. Now I want to add um, 3 to all the numbers. So how do I do that? Right? How do I do that? Like remember when we talked about, whenever you see things like this, it's trying to document, tell you what that map does. So this map is a function that accepts up to 3 arguments. The map method calls the callback function one time for each element in the array, right? So what we are going to do is that since I want to add 3 numbers to all the items without modifying the existing numbers, first off, I call what? I create a variable, right? I create a value number that would do or handle the iterations, which could be any letter, right? It could be any variable name. So I can say number, then this, then I call in what, how I want to add a 3 to all these numbers. So I can say n plus 3, as simple as that, n plus 3. So what this is doing is it will iterate each of this number and add 3 to it. This is what it's doing. As simple as this. With this simple syntax, it's going to give you what you want without having to write the whole of this. I hope you are following. I give you 20 seconds before I continue. All right, great. So this line, right? This line is actually a shorter, cleaner way to do what your for loop does, right? I'm going to break it down, right, for you so that you understand this. I know you get confused, okay? I'm going to break it down. So let's start bit by bit. Okay, let's start bit by bit so that I get you understand what I'm talking about. So for these numbers, let's explain this part. Numbers dot map, right? Numbers dot map, right? The map is an array method in JavaScript. Take note of that. It's an array method in JavaScript. The map is an array method in JavaScript. Okay, it loops through every item in the array, just like a for loop. Okay, it loops through every item in the array, just like a for loop, right? Just like a for loop. I think in correct English is just like a for loop. So a map, I'm taking my time to explain this because this is very, you can't do without this. Ah, you will use this in your code every seconds, every second. So pay attention. So first off, the map is an array method in JavaScript, right? Secondly, what does this map do? It loops through every item in the array, just like a for loop. If you understood this, then you should understand the statement. Okay? Now, after looping through every item in the array, just like a for loop, what happens then? It creates a new array with the result, right? It creates a new array with the result. After looping, it creates a new array with the result, which is what we did here. It's the same thing. Note that it does not change the original array. Once you understand these 4 key points, I mean you are on the right track. Okay, it doesn't change or modify the original array. It doesn't do that. That's one thing with map. It does not do that. First off, it is an array method in JavaScript. Secondly, it loops through every item in the array, just like a for loop. Thirdly, it creates a new array with the result. Fourthly, it doesn't change or modify the original array, which is this one. This is the original one. Rather, it's going to create a new one to add the transformation there. Are we good? Great. Now let's talk about this part, which will seem confusing to you. So we are done with this part. Let's talk about the next part, which is this part. And there's n plus 3. Great. So this now you see here, this syntax you see here is an arrow function, right? It's an arrow function. It's a short way to write a function in JavaScript, right? Did we talk about it? I think we had talked about JavaScript in our last class. I think we did that. We did that. Yeah, we did that function. We talked about functions. We talked about arrow functions and what they are. Yeah, we did that. So I think we're on the right track. Okay. Even though I was not the one that handled the class there, I believe that was taught. Okay. So this is a shorter way of writing a function, right? You know, the longer way of writing a function, the normal way of writing this function, if I want to write this same function, what I would do is simply do this function, then your bracket that contains the parameters, then these, then return what, n plus 3, yeah, function this n plus 3, and you can say let result equal to this, because it's going to return something. It's returning something, so you need to create a variable that's going to return that to it. So this is the same thing with this, but what arrow function does is that it's a short way to write a function. Okay, it's a short way to write a function. function. Okay, great. So what this means is that it means is that it's going to take each element in the array. It's going to take each element in the array, and that's what we call it what? N. This N represents each element in that array. That's the meaning of the N. It represents each element in the array. In the array, okay, which is the N. So it goes into the first element and does what? It adds 3 to that element, right? So it traces the first element, adds 3 to it, which is what you see there. Goes into the second element, add 3 to it. Goes into the third element, add 3 to it. After it has gone to everything, what happens is that it's going to return the result inside the new array that was created. Just as we saw when we created the long way of creating a function, right? It works the same way. I hope that is clear. I hope that is very clear. Hmm? Please. Right. Why do I have a feeling this is still confusing someone? Okay. I feel this might still be confusing. Let's take it as taking it another angle, right? So if I have let's do this. If I have what, let's say numbers equal to, let's say 1, 2, 3. Let's say I have this. JavaScript does something like this, right? JavaScript does something like this. This is me making use of the N, represent each element. What happens is that it's going to take one of it. Let's say it takes one. It takes one. Then adds 3 to that one. It takes this one, which is the N. It then adds 3 to the one, which is 1 plus 3, which is what? Equal to 4. It comes to the second one and take it, which is what? 2. Then it adds what? 2 plus 3, which is equal to 5. It goes to the next one and take the next number, which is what? 3. And does what? Adds 3 to that stuff, which gives us 6. Then what happens is that it's going to now build an array, adding these values into that array, which is what we have here. It's going to add the 4, going to add the 5, it's going to add the 6. Simple as that. I hope that is clear. So if I print this out now, new numbers, if I print this out, I still have the same stuff. If I print this out, see, I still have the same answer. Or maybe instead of adding, maybe you were asked to multiply all the numbers by 3. That's where you can use multiplication sign there. Okay, I hope that is clear. Oh, we have a long way to go. All right. So let's see. The next one is filter. Yeah. Map transform each element and return a new array of the same length. Filter. It also returns a new array, no doubt, right? Yeah. Map transforms every element. It returns a new array. Filter does same. Not no no no, it does not transform, but it returns a new array. Just take note of that. Filter also returns a new array, but only with elements that pass a condition. Now you see the difference. With map, there's no difference. There's no condition. But with filter, for the number to be returned in the new array, it must have passed a condition. If it did not pass that condition, it will not be included in that new array. It's as simple as that. Are we good? Let's see that. Let's see how that works. It works the same way with map, but this time around, filter has the condition. There's condition attached to it. So let's see. Okay, so I'm going to create. I will just do this, copy this, so I don't end up. Yeah, right. This rename doesn't work well with my device. Filter. Okay. All right. So filter. Great, 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 great. So for filter, right? Filter. What filter does is it returns a new array, but there is a condition for the numbers to be included in the new array. It has to meet a condition. Okay, so uh, let's say I have let new numbers. So right, let new numbers equal to numbers dot filter. So n as usual means loop or iterate into each of the elements and return the numbers that is greater than 3. Numbers that is greater than 3. So numbers that is greater than 3 from this numbers array is what? 4, 5, 6. So 4, 5, 6 will be included in that new array. That is what it means. I hope you are following. Yeah, that's what it means. So if I run this now, 4, 5, 6. It's the new array. Simple as that. There are other complex stuff with filter, but if you understand this basic one, that one's will be straight. You can just after now just go around, go to any complex problem, and or you can actually go online, Google, and ask for problems that require filter. Right? I would give you an assignment anyways for so that you can get good with the filter with most of the built-in functions. Okay, so that's what filter does, right? It's straightforward. Now the next one is find, right? Find. So what find does is that it returns just the first element that matches, not an array, but a single value. It returns just the first element that matches, not an array, but it returns the first element that matches. It doesn't return an array, it returns that value that matches. But if nothing matches, it will return undefined. If nothing happens, it will return undefined. right? If nothing happens, it will return undefined. It's going to return undefined. Okay, so let's see how that works. Fine. Okay, great. All right, so find.js. Okay, find.js. All right, let's delete this. Great. So let new number, because it's not returning an array, it's returning a number. So we can just say let found number equal to numbers dot find. So find, iterate through and find the number that is equal to 3. Find the number that is equal to 3. So if I should run this, it's going to give me 3. Let's see. Found number. I need for this again. Right. This for this again. So found number. So if I run this, what happens? This is the new found. The number found was worse. Okay. So the number found was 3, meaning 3 was found. But had it been another 3 here, it's still going to pick the first one. It's not going to return 3, 3. It will pick the first matched value, which is 3. Right? If none was there, let's say find a number that is 23. Obviously 23 is not here, so it's going to return undefined. See, undefined. I hope that solves or clarifies any doubt. Okay, so that's it with find. Now for each. For each. So for each is purely for side effects, right? Purely for side effects, more like logins, sending requests, updating the UI. It doesn't return anything useful, sure. So don't chain of it. Don't chain it to any stuff or to any um, variable. So it's basically used for logging, sending requests, updating the UI. I barely make use of for each, okay? Barely make use of for each amount. But if you want to console log and test things out, you can try that out. You want to waste or spend much time on the for each. But the three most important is this powerful 3. Okay. All right. So let's go over the next slide, which is this reduce. I mean, these concepts are, just pay attention. Please pay attention. This is a very deeper concept, so I will take my time with this reduce. So please pay attention. Okay. So reduce is arguably the most powerful array method in JavaScript, like very powerful array method, and the one that takes the most getting used to. Like, it took me months. Like, it took me months to understand this reduce. It took me months to understand reduce, honestly. Yeah, it took me months. It's very, very deep. I'm thinking of even stopping here to conclude because objects, yeah, I can stop here to conclude that in our next class because reduce is deep. Like when I say deep, it's so deep. So in our next class, we will continue with reduce, array dot reduce. We're going to continue with that. So I'll leave you to um, go through all this, and if there is any question or confusion, please reach out to me. Okay. All right. Thank you. And